Good morning. Hey, you guys. A couple of things today. We're going to talk about uh, balance. We're going to talk about balance. Most of my life, I didn't pay a lot of attention to things like exercise or sleep or or diet or food. You know, I mean, um, a lot of the last 40 years I've been kind of a seeker in many ways around spirituality, but I didn't really look at, how does my body affect my my mind, my emotions, my ability to be present. So these last few years I've really become a student of of a whole bunch of things that are, you know, kind of pull the whole picture together. I mean, I guess I've been a student at some level for many years, but more in the last few years. There's so much available for us to learn about how we should eat, and how a food affects our bodies, how food affects my body, and when I should eat, and how much I should eat. I've actually gotten uh, one of the things that's come up a lot is that we all eat too much. I mean, we've been conditioned to the idea of 3 meals a day, right? We must eat 3 meals a day. Well, actually, that's bullshit. Now, I'm not going to claim to be a food advisor, but I've recognized that, I can do really well on one good meal a day. So I kind of, half-assed fast for 16 to 18 hours. And, then I eat for, that in that 6 hour period or so, that 6 to 8 hours, that comes in between. There's 24 hours in the day, so 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 and that's really all my body needs. And it's really one good meal is good, and it feels good to be hungry a little bit. I mean, um, and the other thing is exercise. One of the because we're in a bit of a lockdown situation, one of the things that I do a lot of now is walk. I'm out walking a lot. Actually, it's how I get not only my exercise but my social, because often I'm walking with people. I have a list of people that I like to walk with, and I'm open to walking with new people. And it's a great way to connect and a great way to get exercise. I also have this little watch my kids got me last year, my Apple Watch, so I can see, how many steps I'm taking and all that. I'm kind of excited about that. So that those things, food, exercise, and I talk a lot here about meditation and service and prayer. So those are a given. They really are. And one of the things that happens that's really hard on our whole system is stress. So if you're in recovery, often we're in our minds a lot, and we're stressing about, you know, things because we think that we can still control life, and we're stressing about what might happen. And so just to let go of that, recognize that one of the ways to do that is to meditate. So I'm a big believer in mm, the benefits of meditation. Yes. And to stillness, and having a spiritual practice uh, allows us to live in a more calm way, if you will, more um, kind of an inner journey. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. Food, so important. I'm not going to give you tips on food, but look at how we eat. One of the things that I guess I am going to give you a little bit of a tip: sugar. you know we just we're we get addicted as kids. I mean, often parents unconsciously are feeding their kids lots and lots of sugar, and we get and it really gets the system going, the dopamine, and so many of us are addicted to sugar. And I have to say that I was one of those, and I still have, I'm still dealing with sugar. And I remember a story that, and this is probably why I shouldn't be talking about this, but um, the back in India years and years and years ago, a lady brought her son to Gandhi, and because her son was eating a lot of sugar, and he was really addicted to sugar, and she knew that he really respected Gandhi, and if Gandhi told him not to eat sugar, that he would listen. And so she brought her son to Gandhi, and she asked him if he would speak to her son about sugar. And, and Gandhi said, "Can you come back in 2 weeks?" So she said, "Okay." And she left, and they came back in 2 weeks, and Gandhi gave her son quite a talk about sugar and why he shouldn't eat it, and what, how it was damaging for his system. And anyway, she said, why couldn't you have done that 2 weeks ago? And he said, well, I had to quit eating sugar. So Gandhi couldn't give the advice on sugar, and neither really can I, because even though I've cut back a lot, I still have it's still in one of my one of the addictions I think I'm still dealing with a bit is the sugar one. So anyway, food, exercise, meditation, service, prayer, they all equal freedom and recovery, really. They're part of every addict's and alcoholics' long-term recovery is becoming more conscious in all these areas, in my humble opinion. Okay, so we're just going to read a little bit from the. I have a book I've been reading from for a while, every day, and I'm thinking when I finish, I might do this book. This is the Tao Te Ching, coming up in May. What do you guys think? It's so cool. It was written by Stephen Mitchell. Hopefully, Stephen will be okay if I read from his book. It's got 81 pages of just great stuff, the Tao Te Ching. And yeah, I'm thinking, what do you guys think? Tell me if you like that idea. I've also been looking at daily reflections as something to start the 1st of May. Should I keep going with this? And what's today? Today is what is today? Oh my gosh. What is today? The 24th of April. April the 24th. From this little book that we've been reading from, which is the, excuse me, you guys, coughing into my microphone, my little thing here. Somebody said yesterday that they couldn't hear me. I needed to speak louder. And so here we go. April 24th, 24-hour day book, written in 1954. And we're like 7 days away from having, read the whole thing one day at a time, which is kind of neat, isn't it? I certainly never thought in the last May when I started to read this, we were in a pandemic. I thought, people were really concerned and everybody was locked down. It was a scary time. And I never thought a year later that we'd still be in a pandemic and everybody's concerned and still locked down. I just couldn't have imagined that we'd still be doing that. And my heart goes out to all of you, because I know that it's hard for me. And I have, I think a lot of human connection. I have my men's group, and I go to my 12-step meetings, and so I get out and I talk to a lot of people, but I know there's lots of you who aren't, and that it's hard. It's like, we can kind of get lost in this, being separated from people for so long. So feel free, if any of you ever like to chat or want to talk, please call me or text me, and we can chat. Really, I'm open to that, because I know how it is, and many of us have been separated from our families. I have, been separated from my kids, and which I have my opinion about, but I'm not going to say. That's their decision. Um, So anyway, April 24th, thought for the day. It says, it's been proved that we alcoholics can't get sober by our willpower. That's true, willpower. You know, one of the things that was like a cornerstone in the very beginning of recovery in AA was that, the doctor's opinion that alcoholism was a disease and not a matter of moral. It wasn't a moral thing, or it didn't have anything to do with willpower. And I like to use this example because guys often say to me, they think that they can, especially when they're new, that they can get, somehow they'll learn enough they can kind of power through this with their willpower. And I often say, well, have you ever had diarrhea? And I mean, everybody's had diarrhea. And how did willpower work on keeping that from, an unfortunate end? And willpower and diarrhea do not go together. We just were to use willpower instead of going to the proper place to deal with our diarrhea, we're going to shit our pants, right? So anyway, willpower is the same with the disease of alcoholism. Willpower doesn't keep people sober. And so it says here, I'll try this again. It's been proved that we alcoholics can't get sober by our own willpower, by our willpower. We failed again and again. Therefore, I believe there must be a higher power which helps me. I think of that power as the grace of God, and I pray to God every morning for the strength to stay sober today. I know that power is there because it never fails to help me. Do I believe that AA works through the grace of God? So, many of us who've tried, my example, of course, is that I was a great quitter. I quit quite often in my, I was still a kid, but in my teens and 20s. And, I really wanted to quit. I made promises that I was done. And because when I drank or used, I got in big shit. And no pun intended. And it was, so I really wanted to quit, like really, and just couldn't, and so the only thing that worked for me was really the recovery program, you know, um, and the whole thing, not just the say the first three steps where I knew I was powerless and I came to believe there's a power greater than me, and I turned my will and my life over to that power. When I did that in the third step, the directions were to do the rest of the steps and build a relationship with that power. Meditation for today. Here we go. Once I am born of the Spirit, then that is my life's breath. Within me is the life of life, so that I can never perish. The life that down the ages has kept God's children through peril, adversity, and sorrow. I must try never to doubt or worry, but follow where the life of the Spirit leads. How often when little I known it, when little I'd known it, God goes before me to prepare the way, to soften a heart, to overrule a resentment. As the life of the Spirit grows, natural wants become less important. And I can relate to that. I mean, we talked earlier about stress, and when we recognize that we have a higher power in our life, stress melts. It really does. There's no need for stress because we're not running the show anymore. And we actually are living in a spiritual universe and really being the spiritual being that we are. Prayer for the day. I pray that my life may become centered in God more than in myself. I pray that my will may be directed towards doing His will. Yes, nice reading today. So we're going to do a really short meditation. What we've been doing here, on a daily basis is 3 or 4 minutes, like literally 3 or 4 minutes. And we can all sit for a lot longer than that, I know. But when I first started to meditate, years ago, and I was just talking the other day to the lady who taught me this, and she gave me a hard time. She said, um, because I told her that I tell people that one my Sheila, who I was married to, had kind of taught me how to sit for 3 or 4 minutes, with a timer, and that's why I would have this little timer and sit. And she said, "Yes, but you haven't been doing that ever since, have you?" And and I said, "Well, no, no. There's been times I've struggled with meditation, and times in the last, since she taught me that 30 years ago almost, that I had, been running the show and not living the path, So yes, it hasn't always been that way. I'm have drifted away and come back and drifted away and come back and you know but I've always managed, stayed sober and had an amazing life. So, but meditation, guys, here we go. Just drop in. We're going to sit for 3 minutes. That's it, 3 minutes. And recognize this is part of our balance, part of what we just talked about, that we look after the whole of ourselves with exercise, food, prayer, meditation, service. Just drop in into the stillness. Use the breath. As we do this on a regular basis, it just becomes like riding a bicycle. So easy, so rewarding. Just watch the thoughts and just let them go. Recognize that our thoughts are not us. We are not our thoughts. Many of us live in, the dream world of our thinking. When we let it go for a little bit, there's nothing there. And that's where we want to be, is in that nothingness, that emptiness, that isness, that stillness. Every cell of our body enjoys this quiet time. It's being exposed to the one, to love. It's like the color purple. Feel the stillness, feel the silence. Be here now. Okay, you guys, I'm going to leave you here. You can stay here as long as you like. Later, go for a walk. Call a friend. Reach out. Love you guys. Thank you so much.